Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Riff Raff. Today we are interviewing Gavin Adcock, which this is the first time we've had a repeat guest since we started.
Yeah, we were just talking before we started recording. It's been 6 months since we talked to Gavin, and it seems like a lot longer than that. But hey, we're happy to have Gavin back. And obviously, he's released a number of songs since then, so we'll discuss some of those with him, I'm sure.
Yeah, when we talked to him last, he kind of explained like that was his strategy, was just releasing songs weekly and giving the people music consistently. Mm-hmm. So we'll touch on that and a whole lot more. Have you ever seen him besides at the Opry? I
have not, and I'm assuming I've seen enough of Gavin Adcock online to where I know that I kind of got the buttoned up Gavin Adcock at the Opry. So
for sure.
I'm definitely interested in seeing him elsewhere.
Yes,
Have you've seen him?
No, I've never seen him elsewhere, but he's coming to the Pinnacle, so we should definitely go to that if you're in for a rowdy night.
Yeah, let's just talk to him about it maybe.
I just went to the Pinnacle since it opened.
Okay.
Have you been yet?
Who did you see?
I saw Turnpike.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize they were already there.
Yeah, they were there on Saturday.
I am going to the Pinnacle this week.
For?
I think it's Russell Dickerson.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those situations where it was like, hey, would you like to go? I said, sure, why not? I want to check it out before.
Yeah. I got the email, but I was like, not really.
Understood.
But the venue itself is really cool. The sound wasn't like A+, like I was expecting it to be.
I feel like that's what they were kind of advertising.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, everyone says it's like the nicest venue, which it is really cool and really nice.
Yes.
But like, it's like it's kind of like Brooklyn Bowl vibes, like just indoors, but it's like 5 times of Brooklyn Bowl. And we were like on like right under the balcony, and I don't know if it was just the speaker we were under was out, but the sound wasn't A+. Like I could have a conversation like this while Turnpike was playing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which obviously maybe they're working the kinks out, and if the Pinnacle was ever interested in sponsoring the podcast, obviously, we know that they'll probably get things under control there. It's definitely a really cool venue from what I've seen.
Yes.
So I'm excited to see it myself.
It was so cool. And there's a rooftop that I haven't seen yet either. So I'm sure you'll be able to see that this weekend. Let's dive into some of the top stories over the last couple weeks.
Had a number of these.
Yes.
Obviously, one that's close to our hearts and all of country music's fans' hearts would be Dolly Parton's husband, Carl Dean, passing away.
Yeah.
A ton of stories that, obviously there were a ton of stories that came from just his passing and how much of a supporter he was of his wife. And it was really interesting. I don't know if a lot of people knew it necessarily, that he was obviously like loved his wife, but he wanted nothing to do with like the fame and the attention that came with being Dolly Parton's husband.
It's such an interesting dynamic, but like to each their own, you know? It worked for them, and they seemed very happy, although we wouldn't see anything else if they weren't.
Exactly.
We never really saw him. I heard he was quite sick for a while, although honestly, I didn't read much into...
Yeah, I had seen that even Dolly had even scaled back on some stuff to help take care of him, spend more time with him, that kind of thing. So obviously, our hearts go out to Dolly.
I do wonder if that means she'll be on the road more. Like people like to stay busy when tragic things happen.
Could be. I guess we'll keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. We also saw a story go viral about a man who spent over $8,000 on touch tunes.
And I think our headline on it was, you can't put a price on setting the vibes.
Exactly.
At the bar. I am a fan of touch tunes. I have the app on my phone, and if someone's playing something that's not really my style, I will load it up and put some music I like on.
See, I'm not super knowledgeable on touch tunes. I'm aware of it. I've been in enough bars and such to see them, but I've never been the person that's like, I gotta play the song that I want to play right now.
I will put any amount of money in there in order to change the music if I'm not liking what's playing. And I like all kinds of music, but it's just like you're in the mood for certain music at certain times, certain environments, and like you can be with a group and be like, this isn't really our music. Let's just cue it on up.
$8,000 is an investment. Shout out to that guy for...
Yeah. No, I want to know who he is and like interview him.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I think there's enough meat on the bone there where we could talk to he or she that put almost $10 $100,000 into TouchTunes.
Do you think it was just one location or just like over $1 million?
If it was just one location, I think it's a little bit more of a sad story than it is one that's like worth celebrating. So hopefully it's spread out. But if it is just one place, that's dedication, and TouchTunes needs to give out some sort of award or something.
You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a regular somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know. And last story is Muscadine Bloodline has their first single at country radio, which is wild. I don't know if you have any, like, how you came to know or love Muscadine stories.
I don't.
Okay.
So I apologize about that. But obviously, like you just said, surprising that, it's their first single on country radio.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like... That's a surprising thing to hear.
Yeah, I think I saw them for the first time at Stagecoach in like 2016, 10 years ago, which is wild. But like they've been known to be so independent, which is why it probably took some time to get that traction on radio. And I'm shocked at what song was the radio single, because like...
Right.
Like I was thinking something a lot more up tempo for them for a radio single, but I mean, great song regardless. It's just like not the one I had expected for them.
And I think that happens a lot, even as we've talked to artists in interviews, where the song that they think would be the one that would be the hit off the album or something like that, it doesn't end up being the case, and then another one finds its way to the radio. So it's always interesting to hear from an artist's perspective about that. And then obviously as a fan, you're like, well, how did this one finally make it?
And then. That's it for stories, but we always like to touch on if there's any concerts you've been to. Has there been any for you?
Yeah. Well, I think we were going to touch on the fact that you and I both covered Charles Wesley Godwin whenever he was in Nashville.
Yes.
You went to the Station Inn show.
Yes, which was awesome. My first time at Station Inn.
I went later in the day to the Opry to see him. And I popped in and said hi. I don't like to bother artists.
Same.
But I just wanted to say, like, hey, I really liked the Lonely Mountain Town EP. And so I just said that. And then actually like name dropped you and he was able to recall that you ran into him in Chattanooga or something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was a crazy story. We were just walking down the street to grab brunch with some friends, and we were going to go see him that night, and we just ran into each other on the street, walking side by side. We're like, oh, hey, good to see you. See you tonight.
Small world, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that Station Inn show was awesome. Have you been to Station Inn?
I haven't. And I should have gone to that one. I feel bad that I didn't.
Oh, it was awesome. Like such a small, intimate. I mean, I can't think that more than 100 people were in there.
Was there a pretty big line to get in? Or?
Yeah, no, not everyone got in. But
tough.
he did like play to the people outside who didn't get in.
I saw a little video of that.
And he played his EP top to bottom, and then played some more.
How do you feel about whenever an artist just like, I'm going to play this song to this song off an album or an EP?
I mean, for an album, it's like 12 songs. I'm like, okay, you don't really need to do that unless I love the album.
Right.
But for this one, I do love the EP, and it was just like the right setting for that. And then at the end, he like played all his big songs too.
That's cool.
So it's like you got a little bit of both, and everyone in there was like a diehard Charles Wesley Godwin fan.
Yeah.
I also went to Billy Strings at Bridgetown. So that was the same day as Charles Wesley Godwin.
Wow.
So I hit
Busy
some
day.
shows that day. And in between, I was out on Broadway at Layla's, kind of just because Roberts was overflowing. But I actually really enjoy Layla's. And a guy said hi to me before they were going on stage to perform. And the band is the Mishaps. And they were doing basically a bunch of bluegrass music because it was the weekend of Billy Strings and Zach Top in town.
A lot of bluegrass fans in
So
Nashville.
yeah, so he played bluegrass and they were awesome. So I hit so much live music that Saturday. It was a blast. So
Did Billy Strings bring anybody out during the show?
no, not that I know of. Honestly, we were just like, it was honestly kind of just background music. Like we were just had a big group and we're just having a good time. And I've seen Billy Strings a bunch. So
Yeah. I saw some videos when Ringo Starr was at the Ryman not too long ago, and he brought out Billy Strings, and he also had Jack White there with him. I think Sheryl Crow was a part of that show too.
That's crazy.
So that's one that I was like, dang it, I wish I would have
gone to that.
I know.
I
we keep doing these concert check-ins, and I feel like I just keep saying like, well, I wanted to go to this one and I didn't make it. But
you gotta say yes.
I am going to not a concert, going to the SEC tournament.
Yes.
Actually, pretty much right after we record this.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I don't have a horse in the race, but I'm just, it's
Yeah.
not a bad price to get in, and I like watching live sports.
Speaking of artists bringing other artists out, did you see that Snoop Dogg played at Losers?
I did.
That was one I was like, I wish I was there for that.
Yeah, I guess Ernest and Jelly Roll were on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, and I listened to that and wrote a couple things from that. And yeah, Ernest had talked about how he kind of, not necessarily lucked in, but just kind of has gotten to know Snoop Dogg a little bit. So obviously they were riding around filming a music video together, and he playing at Losers. Like imagine being at Losers, and I feel like if you're at Losers, you're probably a couple drinks in.
Oh yeah.
And so to see Snoop Dogg, you might even think like, is this actually happening?
Yeah, like is this a lookalike? Is this a? I saw him when Jelly Roll brought him out at Bridgestone, and that was the highlight for sure.
I think Snoop Dogg's kind of a chameleon. He can kind of fit
anywhere,
wherever he needs to.
True.
It's interesting.
Now, before Gavin gets here, what song do you have on repeat right now?
This one's another throwback for me. I have been listening to "I Still Miss Someone" by Johnny Cash. I'm not necessarily feeling that way about about anybody, so I'm not like down in the sadness of the song, but just a great song. I wrote about that. Happens to me a lot. I'll write about somebody and then I'll kind of throw a playlist on, and so I started listening to Johnny Cash a little bit more recently, and then even wrote a story about apparently there's a version of that song that exists, and it's a duet between Johnny Cash and Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay.
Has never apparently seen the light of day. So here we are. Hey, if it's out there, Billy Bob Thornton, if you're listening, or anybody that has access to that song, like I think we need to hear it. Yeah, that's all I'll say. We need to hear it.
And Landman just got announced for
Renewed season 2, yeah.
And the people love the show. They love Billy Bob Thornton. I think everyone would enjoy it.
I think so too. Hey, yeah, work it into the into the show. That's the perfect way to do it.
That keeps happening too. They'll we'll talk to an artist and they'll talk about some kind of music, and then I'm like listening to that repeatedly. Like Kip Moore was talking about Aerosmith, and I was on an Aerosmith kick the last 2 weeks. So
is that the song that's stuck in your head?
That is not.
Okay.
The song sounds like something I'd say by Cassie Ashton featuring Parker McCollum, and I'm obsessed with Cassie Ashton. I have been for years, and she is not popped off to the next level, but she's like the coolest girl. Like she makes her own clothes, just very cool. I don't know, not whatever the word is for not basic.
Yeah.
That is her. She is ultimate cool girl, and her voice is just stunning. So
I'm a fan of Parker McCollum, so I'll have to check that one out.
Okay. And with that, here is our episode of Gavin Adcock with that is sponsored by Rock the Country.
Yes, and Rock the Country is a festival for we the people. It's coming to a small town near you in 2025 with Kid Rock, Nickelback, and many more artists. Don't miss the action in Livingston, Louisiana, April 4th and 5th, Knoxville, Tennessee, April 25th and 26th, Ocala, Florida, May 9th through the 10th, York, Pennsylvania, May 30th through the 31st, Hastings, Michigan, June 13th through the 14th, Little Rock, Arkansas, June 20th and 21st, Ashland, Kentucky, July 11th and 12th, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, July 18th and 19th, and Anderson, North Carolina, July 25th and 26th. You might have to go back, press that 15-second back button if you missed any of those towns, but that's where Rock the Country will be, and tickets are on sale now at rockthecountry.com.
Gavin Adcock, welcome back to Whiskey Riff Raff. You're the first person we've had back on already. So we talked to you only 6 months ago at the Opry, and I feel like a lot has happened since then. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, we've dropped probably 5 songs since then, and been on the road. Hit our first long road trip. Went 28 days, 16 shows in 28 days, and the longest we'd ever been on a bus was 7 days, and about day 9 or 10, 14 dudes on a bus. There's a little bit of hot air on the bus floating around, and
I believe that.
But about a couple days later, everybody was just in the groove and feeling good about it.
I could see where the confined space with that many people could get old.
Yeah.
Maybe not quick, but anything like you said longer than 6 or 7 days, that's a lot to handle for sure.
I have to ask, when you're drinking during shows, are you consistently hungover the day after, or do you kind of manage it and I'm not going to be hungover anymore?
I just do a good job of, we we have a couple drinks for the show, have a few drinks on stage, come off, and I try to do a good job of be like, let's chug a couple waters, eat a meal, and we're off by like 10:45 every night.
Oh, okay.
Start at 9:15, so it's not like it's. Sometimes nights run into about 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, and you don't really feel like shit. You just kind of feel drunk again.
Fair. I love when the hangover like turns into like I'm just really drunk still, and it's like that's the peak best version of myself. Like when I'm still drunk the next day.
Yeah.
The peak.
Okay.
Like I will talk about anything. I just have a lot of energy, but it's like right before I crash. So
Yeah, it's like my head. I feel like I'm in like a weird headspace when I wake up. It's like my head should be killing me, but I just stumbled a little bit going to the bathroom. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm drunk.
yeah.
We could just break down like hangovers for the next 30 minutes if you wanted to.
We really
that's fine with me.
I try not to get hungover anymore.
I was a little hungover this morning.
Yeah.
First time in a minute.
Thank you for your honesty too.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I'm a strong believer that the cause is the cure. Like I need a bloody, I need a drink, just one or two, and I'm back to normal.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm not a big Bloody Mary guy, but I will have one if I'm violently hungover.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll go back to the questions we actually had planned.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
So I didn't realize that when we interviewed you last time, not only do you have a cult following, like people love you or they love to hate you.
Yeah.
But either way, you know, they're commenting like I don't know. I personally love your music, but people like always have something to say about you. I don't know if you feel that way too.
Yeah, I feel that way. Sometimes I feel like I'm a good target for stirring the pot. You can find me doing something crazy at a show, and somebody's like, "Yep, regardless of what people say, we're gonna post it." And I get a lot of hate for the rowdy shows and just being myself, but the people that love me more for it. So
It seems like you definitely have like a I don't care attitude one way or the other with however people view you. Is that an easy thing to, showcase, I guess?
There's good days and bad days with it. You have a day where you're just like stressed out, you got a bunch of stuff going on, and you see a couple posts that are just getting under your skin. You're just fucking pissed off, and you just get off the phone. But most of the time, I just laugh. Sometimes I comment, or I'll just repost it if it's. And people will be like, "He reposted it. He really don't give a shit."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like that's the kind of the attitude you have to have when like you're in the limelight. Otherwise, artists come in here and talk about how like they just focus on the negative all the time and they get in a bad headspace. So it's better to have that attitude than be down on yourself about anything.
Well, and you mentioned that, you've released a number of songs since we last talked to you. Let me know if I missed one, because this is what I had. Obviously, last time we spoke to you was, I guess, right after you released Acting Up Again. Mm-hmm. So you've released You're For You, Almost Gone with Vincent Mason, Loose Strings, Need To, and Unlucky Strikes.
And I've got 3.
Oh, you've got
one of the songs.
I've got 3.
Yeah,
okay.
I let it out with You're For You as like a 2-pack.
Gotcha. So I missed one. I apologize.
No, you got them. Yeah.
But of those that you've released, in the last 6 months, I guess, which one stands out to you the most, or which one have you seen? Not necessarily have the most success, but the one that you see as the most successful.
I'd probably say Need To. It's just got a different vibe from some of my stuff, which is great. I'm always looking for a new sound to hover in for a little while before I decide to change something. Mm-hmm. And it's just got a good beach vibe, good boat feeling song that's gonna be played all summer at the beach and on the lake somewhere.
And you said that your plan is to just keep releasing music kind of the same way you have been, or are you planning on, a couple more singles, another album? What's that cycle?
Yeah,
really
we've got an album wrote. It's gonna be a pretty good size album. Finishing up a little bit of the mixing stuff and mastering, but yeah, we're just not gonna stop letting out singles until then. Just a single every 3 to 5 weeks until it comes out.
And how do you find time to write when you're always on the road?
I just feel like we've got a good opportunity to find some emotion in what we're doing and where we're going, and life away from us and stuff that's directly in our face. Just write like crazy. We wrote We wrote 3 songs yesterday. 2 at from 11 to 3 o'clock, and then went to Losers last night and was on the back deck, and I saw Ernest steel player. His name's Chandler, and we were out on the back deck and drank a few beers, smoked a little bit, and then I was like, "You got a guitar?" He's like, "Hell yeah!" I said, "Let's write one." So we just laid one down about an hour and a half back there.
It can be that spontaneous whenever you're going through these songs, right?
That's when it's best.
Yeah.
When it just happens.
What's funny is we do a little intro, and this is the second time we've talked about Ernest and Losers already today.
Yeah, we did touch on that.
Yeah, very popular.
Good place to hang out, right?
Yeah, I love Losers. It's my favorite bar.
A little bit more about Loose String. So I loved it when I heard it the first time, recorded by Haley Witters. And I feel like everyone thinks that oh, it's her song, she wrote it. But if you look it up, she didn't even write it. Brent Cobb was one of the writers on it. But it was interesting to hear it from a guy's point of view rather than a girl's. So what made you re-record that one?
Well, I'm good buddies with a guy I write with all the time, and he said, I want you to hear this song. And it was Brent Cobb's demo from right when they wrote it. I think it was wrote 2012 or something around then.
Yeah, forever ago.
I fell in love with the song over about 6-7 months. It was one of my favorite songs. I was just listening to a phone demo and told Eric Dillon, one of the writers on it, which I've been writing with a good bit. I was like, "You care if I cut this?" He was like, "Dude, we'd love for you to." And it just had a really good vibe. I don't take a lot of outside cuts. I've only taken a couple since I started, and I just really fell in love with it and felt like I could make it my own.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? I know you're always writing songs. Do you ever see yourself, in a situation where you would get another artist to cut a song that you wrote?
Yeah, I've definitely got some in the pile. We've been having a surplus of songs every time I've dropped one since I started. The first song I ever let out, I didn't have anything recorded besides that one song, and I didn't record anything for another 6 weeks, and it really pissed me off. I was like, I'm never not going to have something to follow up a song. So I've been trying to let one out, write 3 to 5, let one out, write 3 to 5, and just having a pile to let out when you want to.
Yeah.
How do you decide which one gets pulled out of the pile?
I just let everybody in my crew be involved, management, label, band. I just say, here's the best 5 or 6 I got right now. Which one do y'all like? And then they tell me their reasons, and I'll tell them my reasons why I don't think it's a good idea or it's a good idea, and we just roll with it and figure we'll write another one.
I mean, first time we talked to you, we covered 6 to 8 weeks you're putting out a song. We've already touched on it a little bit in this interview too. Are you looking for anything specific whenever you release those singles? Are you looking at numbers and saying oh, well, I'm glad that we chose that one? Or is there any rhyme or reason to it?
Yeah, we're just trying to let out something different each song. I like people not knowing what the next song's going to be until I start advertising it. I would just love for it to hit in a different area. And then you come back to a song like that. I let out Thriving Here. This is maybe my 12th most popular song. It was a slow ballad. And when I went to let out Cigarette almost 2 years later, I was like, you know what? I hadn't let out a song like Thriving Here in a long time, and had a really good feeling about Cigarette. And I feel like all those fans that were huge fans of Thriving Here just came out of the woodworks again.
Yeah. I love when an artist doesn't stick to one thing just because they're like, oh, I only do fast songs for the Rowdy Show, or I only do slow songs, and then your show's kind of, slower. But when they mix it all in and they're not afraid to mix up their sound a little bit. Otherwise, it's just I hate to pick on Zach Bryan, but it's Zach Bryan's songs, they kind of all sound the same. And not that they're not good songs, but that's it. And so it's nice when you get the diversity.
That's what come to mind too,
Yeah.
Zach Bryan stuff. And it's really cool when artists can stick to a vibe and be very successful. I just didn't think that was the route for me. I just don't want people to go, oh, here's just another Gavin song. I want to be this is kind of weird, but maybe they like it, maybe they don't.
In songwriting, how often do you pick from like what's personally going on in your life at the time? Or do you have like a list of like, I've never wrote about this, I've never wrote about this, I've never wrote about this, so I want to write about this?
I try to pull from either past experiences or something that somebody close to me is going through, and just put myself in that mindset, which can really, if you're writing like a really heart-wrenching song or something that really hits you really hard, and I've noticed this, get up in the morning, write a song from like 9 to lunch. You finish it, and it's just a really deep song. It can almost kind of like screw up the rest of your day. You're just kind of in a bad mood, or you're a little overstimulated from letting your emotions get that deep on something that you just kind of force yourself to be in that situation.
And that's kind of interesting to hear, because I think a lot of fans, if they hear a song that they can relate to, there's almost like a therapeutic element to listening to it. So it's interesting to hear that when the artist is writing a song that might be helpful, they might actually be going through it. I don't even know if I'm leading to a question, but I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I'll let out like a really sad single, and it won't stream as good as something upbeat. And then I think about it, and I'm like, this song's really deep. You can't listen to this song 15 times a day, or you're going to feel like shit.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, we have a motto at Whiskey Riff, like, sad country songs make me happy. And, like, I love sad country songs. But about, like, this time last year, I was like, I, like, can't do it every day or as often anymore. Because, like, yeah, it's just, like, I'm not sad about anything. But if I do it enough, it's going to force me to be sad. And, like, I like being upbeat and happy. And, like, I like listening to, like, my gym playlist almost more now because it's just upbeat. But I love sad songs, too.
Yeah, if I'm really sad and I'm, like, kind of in the middle between, like, I'm doing all right and rock bottom, I'm like, let's just listen to something terribly sad, get to rock bottom, and we'll start feeling better as we're coming back up into real life.
It can't get worse if you're at rock bottom.
No
Exactly.
doubt.
All right, let's switch gears and kind of talk about the live shows. So we both only have ever seen you at the Opry so far. So we know that was a lot more buttoned up than what your live shows usually are. But we've seen a lot of clips on social media. If someone hasn't been to a Gavin Adcock show, what can they expect?
A lot of singing along, a lot of drinking, a lot of energy, some loud ass PAs ripping, and just people cutting loose and getting away from whatever their 9 to 5 is.
Yeah, and speaking of cutting loose, I think most often, I mean, obviously, listen to your music, big fan, but I see you a lot online calling people out at your shows, whether they're being unruly or whether they are cutting too loose. I mean, cutting loose is good, but sometimes they get a little bit out of control. How, like, are you comfortable, standing up there and calling fans out whenever they start acting up, I guess?
Well, it doesn't usually end very well on social media if I have to get involved, because it'll be 30 seconds of me being like nice guy, telling the security to get up there, and you don't know what kind of security you're dealing with. They can either be hard asses and go out there and get somebody if they're fighting, or they stand there in shock, because it's pretty terrifying to jump in a fight of two dudes swinging like crazy. But if it gets real bad and I see like girls or something like getting knocked over, like there's like kids around, like I'm not afraid to show my ass. And I'll act a fool, but it's just best when the security gets involved early. I've tried to stay away from raising hell at them, but
it sounds like it can be a little bit unfair. Like you're just trying to look out for the people that are there, and then obviously you said a 30-second clip gets posted on.
Well, it's like the first 30 seconds I'm being nice guy, and then the clip that gets posted is me saying GD right off the bat and just coming at people's throats, and I'm like, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
You said a couple examples of like what crossing that line really looks like for you, but what is like the craziest thing you've ever seen at a show?
There was one girl that took her bra off and threw it up on stage, and her and this girl ended up getting in a fight, and the girl ripped her shirt off, and the security was walking her out shirtless through the whole crowd. Like, she didn't even have a shirt on by the time they got her out of there. But
legal in half the states, actually, surprisingly.
Oh, yeah. That was, they were like, if somebody flashes the stage in Oregon, they're going to get kicked out because it's illegal. I was like, I didn't even know that was the thing.
Yeah. In Colorado, I lived there for a couple of years, and it was legal to, like, women to walk around topless. No one ever did, but it wasn't against the law. You are also known for taking your shirt off at shows.
Yeah.
And that's legal everywhere, I think.
Legal everywhere.
Yeah.
I actually went on a podcast with Bert Kreischer, and the only question I had before we went in was like, when was the first time you ever took your shirt off at a show? Because I remember the first time I ever did. And he was like, yeah, dude, I went up there for my first comedy skit, did the thing with my shirt on, took it off before I walked off stage. Everybody went crazy, and that's just what kind of happened. And I always wear pearl snaps. And people have posted me going from tucked in when I go out there to tucked out, 2 buttons down, open, and then by the last song, I'll just take it off. I just kind of had the same reaction. Like, I went and it was hot. We were playing in Birmingham, Alabama at the Zydeco pub, and the ceiling's about this high. And it was just an oven in there. And by about 4th or 5th song, I popped the shirt open and untucked it, and everybody just went crazy. And then it's like I take it off like the last couple songs now, just be reckless and wild, but I used to take it off by like song 5 or 6, and there'd be like 18 shirtless songs.
Do you ruin your shirts when you do that?
Oh no, they just
snap in and out.
If they're like a cheap shirt or there's something that I can get, I'll pop them open and throw them in the crowd. I do tend to bust some buttons if they're not pearl snaps.
Yeah. Well, we have a couple of button ups that I ordered for you. They were out for delivery as I was coming here, so I'm gonna have to bring them by. But I have some other stuff for you today. So
I appreciate it.
You're gonna rip. They're not pearl snaps, so you're gonna rip them up. But that's okay.
Yeah.
you can pass them out. It's fine.
Yeah, my girlfriend's gonna have to learn to sew.
Yes.
Somebody needs to. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, and obviously you've got the Need To tour that's starting in May, right? What's different about this tour? I know there's some hometown shows, right? Like you're playing in Athens, Georgia.
Yeah.
So how does that feel? With this Need To tour coming up?
It's awesome. We're just leveling up venues, like smaller amphitheaters and just bigger rooms, anywhere from like 4 to 8,000, 9,000 cap rooms. And the first time I ever played in Athens, Georgia was at this place called Flanagan's, and it was like maybe a 250 cap room. I think they paid me $1,000, and I went in there and played acoustic set, and it was in the middle of summertime. No kids were there, but it was a line down the road. Then we went and played at General's, which is my favorite bar in Athens. I have a hard time going anymore. It kind of sucks, but it's just with the territory. But I played there just because I wanted to say I played there one time. We played the 40 watt, which is about a 600 cap. Georgia Theater 2 nights, which is a 1,000 cap, and then Aikens Arena, which is a new arena. It's I think it's a 5,000 cap, and it's gonna sell out months and months before, but it's going pretty good. But I'm excited to play these new rooms, some places I've never been, and it's gonna be a whole new set. Cutting some songs out that I don't really want to cut out, which is really hard.
Yeah.
As you get into year 4 of being an artist and you've let out rapid music, is there's songs that they sing every night, but you're letting out new stuff, and you've got to promote the new stuff, and you've got to mix up the set list, and it's like some of those songs I've been singing since 4 or 5 months into my career. It's like kind of like telling your kid, all right, you're not good enough anymore.
Yeah.
You gotta pick favorites. You gotta pick favorites. Yeah, you don't ever want to do that.
That's fair. And you're playing those 5,000 cap rooms, but you're also playing a lot of festivals this year. Rock the Country is the sponsor of this podcast, and you're wearing the hat, so perfect. Great. What is the difference when you're playing, your show versus a festival?
You've definitely got to be on your game to get them involved, because there's over a weekend can be 30, 40 artists plus that are playing different stages. So you really got to get them locked in and take it as people were like, oh, they weren't singing a lot today. I'm like, that's a good thing to an extent. And my bass player would be like, they weren't singing like I wanted them to. I said, I know, but that's opportunity for growth when they're not singing. I kind of love it. I'm like, they don't know me yet, but they're about to.
You left an impression. Yeah. And then you're playing stuff that they just don't know yet. So.
And obviously with Rock the Country, there's a patriotic element to it. Obviously you got Kid Rock. He's a part of it. So you feel like you're going to just step in and it's going to be pretty natural to, get the patriotism going, I guess, for those?
Oh, yeah. We played on all, I think it was 7 of them last year. We played on all 7 of them. And it was election year, so it was really a lot of high tensions. And I'm a outward Republican, as a lot of people know, and I'm not afraid to say it. So it was a good festival for me to go on, and I'd be like second of 5 acts, and it'd be the beginning of the day, and it would be 3/4 full, halfway full, and I'd just go out there and just be a hype man for the United States of America and play our songs and support Trump.
I feel like you're definitely known for that now. Have you had a chance to meet Kid Rock at all yet?
Yeah. I met him a couple times. Yeah, he's cool. I've been listening to him since I was a little kid. Didn't know that I would ever get to play with him. I just didn't. That wasn't on my cards when I was a little kid. I just thought that being a country artist would be great, but I just didn't know if I was ever going to be able to do it. So it's really cool to open up for somebody you were listening to in a car seat.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's crazy.
Do you have any special patriotic plans for these types of festivals? You're gonna pull out an American flag and
oh yeah, I'll definitely be decked out in the red, white, and blue. I've got a American flag cut off pearl snap that I'm definitely gonna rock on those, and yeah, just whatever comes to mind.
Love it.
There's also some other big shows coming up. You're opening up for Morgan Wallen on a couple shows.
Yeah.
Are you excited for that? How do you get the call? I mean, those are massive shows too.
Yeah, it was actually we were talking about the election. It was the day before the election, and everybody was kind of stressed, or for whatever reason, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican. And my manager and agent called. They said, "Well, at least we're going to tell you some good news if the election don't go the way you want to." And I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "Well, we're going to get you to open up for 4 Morgan Wallen dates." And I was like, "Hell yeah!" So 2 in Miami, 2 in Toronto.
Wow.
Never been to Canada before, so.
And I was looking at who else was on those dates. I think Brooks and Dunn and Miranda Lambert are on those dates too, which is crazy too.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, they're heroes of my childhood.
Yeah, Brooks and Dunn, I think of Only in America. That's how usually they end their shows, and I'm very patriotic. Yeah, just fits, makes sense. So those are going to be exciting.
Yeah, that'll be awesome to get to watch them and just play in a stadium for the first time. Hopefully one day we're headlining them our own. But I told the guys we were playing a little 250 caps starting out, hard tickets. I was just making enough money to get us there and get us back and pay everybody $150. But I was like, y'all just stick with me. I'm going to let out a lot of songs, and we're going to play stadiums one day. So it was really exciting for most of them, because I'm 4 years in, but these guys that have been playing with me have been doing it since they could pick up a guitar. So it means a lot to them to get to this level, and it's great for them to live their dream.
I definitely feel like there's been some patriotic themes here the last couple of minutes. So I've been kicking myself since we last talked to you, because I didn't ask about your hair. Would you call it a mullet? Would you come out and say
I'd call it a mullet.
Okay. I know that can be touchy. I don't want to call it a mullet and you not consider it a mullet. So now my follow-up question is, what is mullet upkeep like? Is there a process to it? Is it difficult, or do you find it actually to be rather simple?
I feel like if you have the ultra redneck mullet that's shaved fully on the side, there's a good bit of upkeep, because the top gets real long, and then it just gets a little shaggy on the side. So I feel like you're having to go in there like once a month. But my hair is kind of like evenly long everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I just have to cut it when my sideburns get to running down to here, and it doesn't tuck between my ears very good. But I go like every 2 months, get them trim it up. Like, I like a short haircut; it feels really good. And I was thinking about it early this year. I was like, am I going to cut my hair and have a short haircut for a little bit and grow the mullet back? And we were going out west, California, and I was like, those California people don't want to see me with a short haircut. They want this shit to be rowdy and long, hanging in my face.
Yeah, it's become, a little synonymous with, I think, your image is the hair. And I'm asking a lot of questions about the mullet, but it's because I'm intrigued. Whenever you sit down in the barbershop or, haircut place, are you saying, give me the mullet, or how does that work?
Oh, it's just got the shape that it's had for a few years now. I've probably had the mullet for probably 5 or 6 years, maybe 7. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I had like the Justin Bieber haircut through like high school, and then in college I just started letting it grow and started slicking it back with a hat, and I was like, should have been doing this a long time ago. But yeah, growing pains of
growing up.
And when I was a little kid, I'd get a haircut, and the barber or hairstylist would mess it up, and I thought it was the end of the world. I was like, God, the girls are gonna fucking hate me. But no, my mom was like, you're having this hair, it's fine, it's gonna grow back. So that's grown with me a good bit.
I don't have any more mullet questions.
That's right.
Perfect.
I will rest.
I'll take over and ask my personal questions. This is what I ask pretty much every artist. I usually ask about their dating life. You are very open about your dating life with Haley. Mm-hmm. How and why, not why, but how are you guys so open? Like, I don't understand, like, how you guys are able to, like, just post it all out there. Like, I wish I could.
It's definitely hard sometimes with her being an influencer and me being an artist. It's just a lot of people that have an opinion. Mm-hmm. And I'm advertising a breakup song, or she's getting paid by a label from an artist to post about like breakup stuff. So we just had to like kind of tread lightly on how we work our social media and just find a middle ground between like respectable, or if I post something that's just like seems like me and Haley broke up, there's everybody on the internet's just like commenting like crazy. I'm like, it's just, so you just kind of got to sacrifice social gain for your relationship sometimes. So we just are very upfront with each other about what we're posting, about what would piss each other off, honestly.
Although sometimes, if you're getting all those comments, it's like good engagement. So it's like
it's
pros and cons to each side.
No doubt.
I was just gonna say, sometimes I think back to like the simplicity of before the internet, where you could just have a relationship and it was like there's no pressure to post. There's no one asking questions if you don't post every month or every week about certain things. And so, like, is there a pressure you feel like to keep, like, I know you're saying that there's sort of social media engagement to it.
If she's an influencer and I'm an artist for 2 straight months and we don't post about each other, people are like, what's going on? I'm like, we're just doing our job. I see her every night. It's like, but yes.
And then if you post her every day, it's like, oh, they're just covering up, like they're having issues. Like that's why they post each other all the time. Yeah. There is no really winning, I feel like.
I really wish I was born in like the 1800s or something.
Yeah.
And just, there was nothing going on like that. So.
And you just put a song out and then that was it, right? Like there was no other things where I
have a love-hate relationship with social media.
Yeah.
Like when I was in college and I started making TikToks, I would plan all day for a TikTok and be like, this is going to smash. Post it, and it flopped. I didn't have a lot of followers and didn't know the algorithm and didn't really know, and my songs weren't as good as they have got to be over the last few years. I was just kind of dealing with what I had. And I just know that I wouldn't have as much control as I do if I didn't have social media, so I'm really appreciative to be able to do it.
Positives and negatives, yeah.
I handle our influencer marketing too, and I send her some of our swimsuits, and she models them for us. So it's like a easy layup right there too.
Yeah.
But I did hear that she just took your truck and may have had a little incident.
Yeah, she didn't. She had a modeling shoot in Florida, so she flew from Florida to Nashville, and it was like 2 days before I got back. But she's got a key to the house and goes and stays, and I'm about to go on stage. It's like 30 minutes before I go on stage, and she'd asked if she could take my truck, and I called her, and she was like, when I pulled out of the driveway, I think I hit a pothole or something. And I don't even think she knew that she had hung the mailbox. But she goes to text her friend and goes, "Oh my God, we're going to have to replace the whole side," and sent it to me on accident.
No.
And I'm about to go on stage, and I'm like, "What?" And she didn't respond for a few minutes. I just called her. She's like, "I'm so sorry," crying, just bawling, crying. And I was pissed for about 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. She was like, "I was going to tell you after the show." I was like, "I'm glad you didn't, because now I've got to kind of let it go and go on stage and perform for 2 hours for people." And I was just pissed for just a minute. Called her back, said, "It's all good. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna go on stage and it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna give you some shit on the internet for it, but it's fair enough. It's probably gonna be like a couple $1,000 to replace the."
Do you have a Ring doorbell where you have the footage?
I have the Ring doorbell that covers the porch, but it doesn't. It's not in the driveway.
Like, that's the best. That's like honestly the only reason why I want the Ring doorbell is for like when I come home drunk and I do something stupid. So like there's video footage of it.
Yeah, social media engagement. Yeah, we keep talking about it. Well, I know last time we talked about, you being a former football player, and obviously you kind of started into music while you were playing football. I guess we could somewhat direct people back to our conversation from 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I think we talked plenty about that. But something we didn't cover is that whenever you were younger, you dreamed of riding bulls professionally. Is that true?
Yeah, I grew up in the stockyards working with my daddy, and was just really fearless and didn't know much about life or death, because I was in a dusty barn with 1,000 to 1,500 pound animals flying at me trying to kill me, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. I just thought it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I was gonna say, like, how do you even find out that you have a passion for riding bulls? But it sounds like maybe you were just around them.
I was just around a bunch of.
Have you been on one before?
Yeah. We rode a few in high school just to say we did, and went to some test pens, and you'd pay like $20 and use a fake ID and sign a waiver.
When's the last time you got on a bull?
Probably when I was like 16.
16.
Okay. I was like, there's a bar in Arizona where you can literally sign a waiver and you can ride bull. It's crazy. I've never been, but I've heard.
I played these bulls, bands and barrels, which is also Peachtree, which does rock the country, and we played like 3 or 4 of them this year. And I was like, how badass it would be if I just got on one, rode, regardless if I rode it or not, got up there and sang the concert.
I feel like your whole team's like, do not care.
I know.
Just do not care.
I know. They were like, no. They shot it down every time I said it.
That would be fun, though.
It would be fun.
We're going to dive a little bit into sports. So Quinn over here is a big golfer, so I'll let him take it away.
Big golfer, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you, or I guess I'll just come out and say it. Are you friends with John Daly?
Yeah.
Do you have his phone number?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I'm not going to ask for it, but I just want to know, like, how did you guys cross paths and have a friendship spark?
Well, I played in the Blue Otter charity golf tournament, and his godson, his name is Joel Cooley. He played on our team, and he's the only reason that we did any good, because I'm a pretty good drinker and not a very good golfer.
Yeah.
But I try.
Yeah.
Well, I think we took one of my shots the whole day. We played scramble, and Joel was just killing it. And after we got some dinner and sat down, and John was over there, and Joel was like, here's John, come say what's up. And he's like, he'd love you. We talked a little bit, sat there, had a few drinks, and then I was going to tell him bye before I left. And he was like, no, you got to go. he was like, Joel, you got to go get that guitar. It's a MAGA guitar, and you're gonna play it for me, because there was like a kind of like a writer's round going on up there for during dinner. And I was like, all right, I'll play you a couple. So I played Cigarette, because John smokes cigarettes like they're going out of style.
He sure does, yeah.
And then I played Run Your Mouth, and he FaceTimed Trump, and Trump answered. He brought the phone up there, and it was just crazy.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I saw that video. I didn't know that's like how you guys met.
Yeah.
Like that was the time.
Yeah, that was the day. And then he came to my Tampa show and brought me on stage a couple months ago.
And he's a decent musician, you know, in his own right?
Yeah. He hops on stage and sings and plays. He let out an album a couple years ago, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
That's
so.
crazy.
Well, I just was interested because obviously he's a pretty interesting figure in the game of golf. I mean, he transcends it, and so it's cool. I mean, the fact that you're friendly with him.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty cool thing to have in your contact. Book,
Probably similar to that like Cool Kid Rock thing. It's like you've known who these people are your whole life, and then all of a sudden you're friends with them.
Yeah.
Let's just dive into some rapid fire, if that's okay with
Yeah.
you. Start with an easy one. What are your 2025 predictions? I know we're already in March, but what do you predict is going to happen the rest of the year? This could go for music. This could go for anything going on in the country or the world.
Predicting a 2025 national championship by the Georgia Bulldogs for all my hometown people of Athens. I live from Watkinsville, but I'm like 15 minutes from Athens, so
football.
There's that, and then we want our album to go number one, so on as much things as we can. So we're gonna drop all these singles and let out some party stuff during the summertime and roll it right into the album and send it to the top.
Awesome.
So album would probably be like later in 2025 or
somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle. Okay, perfect timing. What song do you have on repeat right now?
I mean, look.
It's usually what I have to do. I'm like, what have I been playing on repeat?
What have I downloaded recently?
Yeah.
I love listening to this Merle song right here. It's called "That's the Way Love Goes," and I'd never heard this song when I wrote Four Leaf Clover, and it's got some like luck lines in there. So.
Yeah.
Over my left shoulder.
That's actually my favorite Merle song and my boyfriend's song, and he has a horseshoe tattooed on his ass.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm like, the luck thing.
That's probably my favorite Merle song.
Is there anything outside of country music that you have a weird obsession with?
I like sports gambling pretty good.
What's your app of choice?
I've got some shady app that my buddy runs. I don't do it legally.
Sure. No more questions.
We're good. Sports gambling. What are your other teams besides Bulldogs?
I'm a Falcons fan, so we've had a couple good years and many shitty ones, and I'm an Atlanta Brave. So we got us a championship for the first time in 26 years, I think. 95, I think 2021.
2021,
yeah.
I'm a Braves fan as well. So
yeah.
we have that in common. Yeah. I'm excited for this year.
I think I'm going to be a Braves fan just because those are the only games I go to.
You might as well be. It's the closest
stadium.
Yeah.
Not a bad drive, from Nashville to get down there. I don't know, like, not to get too much into the Braves, but, like, they didn't make as many offseason moves as I feel like they typically do. They're banking on a lot of players just coming back from injury, like Ronald and Strider, to be healthy. I don't know. Do you feel pretty good going into the Braves season this year?
I think we've got plenty of people to make it happen. It's just the chemistry's got to be there. And last year the chemistry was just off a little bit. We had all the players minus Freddie, which I was as pissed as anybody when Freddie got let go. But I hate the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers, and I hate the Yankees.
Team,
But when they won, he hit that walk off I was
That was
glad that he did it.
Yeah, that was
because
cool.
he had he fired his agent over or whoever it was that
Overall
got him
contract.
signed,
Yeah.
because the Braves come back and said, "Here, we'll match you with what the Dodgers said," and the agent didn't tell him. So he found out about that through the grapevine, fired him like the next day,
and would have, I think, made more. As far as we know, would have made more in Atlanta than he ended up making as a Dodger because of all the taxes and stuff in California.
Yeah, it said it was apparent that the agent wanted to live in
LA.
Something like that.
Instead of just doing what was right. But
Yeah.
Well,
how are you feeling about March Madness? Quinn's about to head to some games right now.
yeah, actually.
I don't know. I hadn't put a lot of money on basketball, but
yeah, it's not my favorite sport.
but I do love watching like the last. I like to see all the upsets early.
Oh yeah,
Like
there's nothing better.
a 15 seed knocking off 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and it happens at like 11 o'clock in the morning. That's what I love about it.
Has a 16 seed ever beat a 1?
Yeah, I think it's happened twice
recently.
now. Yeah, it's actually been in the past couple of years that it's happened. So a lot of parity in college basketball. I guess we're just taking over with sports here for a second. Sorry about that.
No,
But,
you're good.
Go-to hangover cure. Might have even asked you this the last
sauna.
time too. Sauna, okay.
Yeah,
Fair.
I'm a big cold plunge and sauna guy.
Mm-hmm.
We hit the gym a lot on the road, and I've been slacking since we got back. We got on that run, and I probably worked out 3/4 of the days and hit a cold plunge probably about 3/4 of the days. But
Some of that, like your sports background, knowing that stuff's good for recovery. And
oh yeah. A good cold plunge will get you right though.
Mm-hmm.
They hurt sometimes.
They're tough, yeah.
And just drinking a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe it because like when you're hungover, you also just want to like jump in the pool. You're like that would feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you name something that's overrated?
Overrated.
Personally, I think like Raising Cane's is overrated. Sometimes those people underrated, so I don't know.
I don't know. I'd say like Chick-fil-A is rated.
They
I don't know. But I was just thinking of, you said Cane's, so I was like,
went to chicken. Yeah.
Trying to just give you some time to think. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Overrated.
The next question's name something underrated, if that helps to jog the brain,
memory.
yeah.
something that's underrated is we listen to this guy on the bus all the time, and he's finally starting to find some light. We've been listening to him for a couple of years now. Stephen Wilson Jr. that's opening up for Hardy.
Yeah.
Yep.
We love his stuff, and he's underrated right now, but he's on the come up. So we're glad. I'm so glad to see, like even Zach Top, me and my producer loved his music when he had like a couple 100,000 monthly listeners, and we were just hoping he made it because we just enjoyed that style of music.
Yeah, I hear such good things about him. And he has a song coming out on Friday with Dirks. It hasn't been announced yet, but this will be out by the time it's out.
Stephen Wilson Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, he's got some like real like crazy sounds in his music, which is it's nice.
I think someone once described him as Death Cab for Country.
That would make sense, yeah.
Which is a pretty good, I think.
I'll probably piss off a lot of people, but I do like some Bob Dylan songs. But I think I hadn't even seen the movie, so whatever.
Yeah.
But I think Bob Dylan is overrated.
Okay.
I have to agree. Hot take, but I agree.
I mean, like
yeah.
he's got like 3 or 4 songs that I've listened to ever, and then I get down to some of his stuff, and it's just a little weird for me. And I don't know.
Have you ever seen the movie? What is it? Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Yeah. They poke fun at Bob Dylan.
We
a lot.
were joking about that yesterday. We were writing a sad song, and Dewey Cox is singing like Bob Dylan, and one of his like managers and band members is like, "What the hell is he talking about?" And the guy that does all the drugs, he goes, "This song is very deep."
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Shelby. At least look up the Bob Dylan portion of the movie. There's some clips out there. It's really funny.
Sounds like I would like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like making fun of like Johnny Cash.
It's making fun of everybody.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Do you have any embarrassing onstage moments that come to mind?
Just had one.
Yeah.
Yeah. chug a few beers on stage, and sometimes I gotta take a piss. And we were playing Dinosaur a few weeks ago, and I said, all right, guys, y'all just solo a little bit. I'm gonna run here and take a quick piss. So I went, tucked my shirt back in, or like buttoned my shirt back up, buttoned my pants back up, went back on stage, was about to sing Cigarette, and the people in the front row were like, your zipper's undone. And me just being me, I just said it over the mic. I was like, well, my zipper was undone. And everybody like laughed, and I started playing Cigarette, and they forgot all about it. But I was embarrassed. I was like, shit.
Sometimes it's better just to point it out too if there's an embarrassing moment. Yeah,
I fell a few times up there too.
I feel like that has to happen at some point.
Yeah, and I was watching videos the day before my birthday, which was like October 8th was the day before. And all these artists falling on stage, and I was like, as much as I run around, I've never fell. And I get up on the PA or on the monitors the next night, and something come by and just hit my feet out from under me. It felt like, because my feet went up in there and I fell right on my back.
Jinxed it, yeah.
Yep.
We had Kip Moore on, and he posed a question, actually as a response to a question that we asked him that I guess we'll ask as well. But he said oftentimes him and the guys will sit around and say, running for 10 yards, throwing for 10 yards, or catching for 10 yards in the NFL, which one do you think you would be able to do? Obviously, you've got a football background, but you also are aware of the next level that, NFL players are.
I would say catching would be the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
A 10-yard pass isn't that hard to make, but if you get the right blocking, I would say running for 10 yards would be the easiest.
There we go. I could see you breaking the hole, like right through the line.
I always wanted to play fullback when I was younger, but I was just like, I was a good size for like a college or NFL fullback, but I was one of the biggest guys on the team, so they were like, you're playing line. And I was like, damn.
What is your ideal dive bar meal? So you pick one shot, one beer, and one bar food.
Probably a shot of Woodford Reserve. This is like my go-to bourbon. We drank Jack on stage, but I like drinking Woodford. And then a big ass greasy cheeseburger, probably with some bacon, with everything on it, and some fries and some ranch to dip it in, probably.
And what's your choice of beer?
I like either Miller or Coors.
Mm-hmm.
We drank Miller on stage, but my second go-to is just straight to Coors, and it's like they're about even.
We'll wrap it up with the weird question, right?
Yes, we'll wrap it up with a weird question.
What's the largest animal you could take in a 1v1 fight?
Just with my hands?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's an interesting question. I know, yeah.
I think kangaroos are pretty big. I think it would be like, I was like, if you were on your shit that day and you fought a kangaroo, you probably could get him.
Didn't we have someone answer?
I think Kip Moore said kangaroo.
Kip Moore said kangaroo, I think, as well.
That's about as big as I'm going to, like, those things are jacked, too. But I think it'd be, like, the most even fight.
Someone else said, like, a big dog. Like, that's all I could do.
Dog, yeah.
For me, I'm like, this ain't a small dog.
I've took down some large, like, cows, but not like 1,000-pound cows. I'm talking about, like, 400-pound cows that are, like, really calm. Like longhorns that you like wrestled down, but if they had the mindset that they wanted to hurt you, they would.
Okay.
Well, and if you ever wanted a show to get really rowdy, maybe kangaroo versus you on stage might be the social media thing that sends it through the roof.
I've got a buddy that's got a big like longhorn Brahma steer. It's got like a big hump on its neck. And when I play at the Pinnacle in Nashville, I'm gonna ride it on stage.
Okay,
perfect. We might be there. So we haven't been to one of your shows besides the Opry, so we gotta go.
Come. You gotta come to something besides the Opry, because I'm just trying to make grandmas proud at the Opry.
Fair. Well, thanks so much for being here, and we hope to see you at that show and at Rock the Country.
Sounds good. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.